So people have been very upset about the new Pokemon Go update. I honestly have not played Pokemon Go in years, and maybe that's for the best because people are hating this, and people used to love this game. I mean, this game is so widely loved that it's hard to believe anybody transforming into a vitriolic mess upon its mention, but now it seems to be something that people universally hate. I should say the majority of people universally hate it. And as someone who is a big Pokemon game fan, I used to even go back and collect all the old games from the very old systems like Game Boy Color and Game Boy SP and everything you can think of. After Pokemon Black and White, I found myself not really liking Pokemon anymore. It just felt like a rinse and repeat until Arceus, that is. This is usually the case with companies that become monopolies. They get so big that they don't feel like they need to impress anyone. Like a lot of women, when they get a man that they've been chasing after for a while, then they feel like they don't need to cook for him or look good for them anymore. And so they just stop trying or just completely let themselves go. And then if people are trying to tell them, hey, you used to be this, we want to play you again, we want to enjoy you again, they get defensive or just ignore you, because why should they? They already got what they want. And that's why games like the one I'm playing right now, Pal World, are so amazing. That's why upon their release, people flock to it like water in the desert. Even people that didn't realize they needed it or didn't realize they'd been starving for so long, they finally get something new and innovative. The very thing that Pokemon refuses to do anymore. They keep updating their games like the iPhone updates their iPhones by saying, look at these brand new features. Meanwhile, there are a bunch of other games and studios and companies that have been releasing products with those same features from like 10 years ago, but just making it feel as though, yes, this is brand new because we've not given it to you. They're so greedy that they don't want to put in the time and the money that they have so much of because they charge so much for their stuff to, at the very least, catch up to the rest of the world, much less surpass it. And then all of a sudden, you got people being upset at other games or other studios or companies doing what is normal for humanity, which is to see something that is good and to build upon it, to fill a niche that people clearly want. I would sink all my life savings into the development of Pal World before I buy another Pokemon game again. So because of all of that and the bland, uninspired updates, the horrible new Pokemon designs, and the constant stagnation of this beloved franchise, I no longer feel any sympathy when Pokemon make some stupid decisions. And it's not just one stupid decision, it's stupid decision after stupid decision. And call me crazy, but it feels like lately most of the stupid decisions that are being made in media and entertainment are coming from a very sinister place. Can we make our avatar look more like Snorlax? What is this shit? Now, while nothing is wrong with added customization, I think where people are getting upset is, based on what we've seen from the avatar examples, they are changing the avatars of already established avatars that people have made. You add customization, you don't remove what people have already customized. Here's one example. There are many out there, but here's one example. This was the original avatar, and they made this girl have hips, like most girls have. You have that little indentation, and then you have wider hips. I'm not saying every girl's built like this, but changing your character that already has an established skin tone and body shape, which, yes, we exist out here, people that look like this with this body shape, and then changing it into this, a more matte, GameCube looking version with shinier hair. This looks terrible. And here's the thing, I don't know if they think they're doing this because maybe they're just being lazy. I don't know, someone's trying to capsize the company or something, but maybe they're trying to be more inclusive. And this is why people are actually turning against inclusivity. It's not that inclusivity is bad. It's really good. I think diversity is beautiful. It's part of what makes us who we are as human beings. But you can actually weaponize something that was meant to be good against the very people that you claim that you're trying to help. You want people to look more realistic, as they put it. Realistic with quotations, I mean. So you add an extra customization for body parts. No problem. But then why change the people that have already made their avatars look like this to look like this? And they may, people were saying, well, it's the trans thing. Here's something people never considered, right? What if for a person who is trans. I'm just using that as an example because it's not just affecting them. The majority of people are not, so they still hate it. But let's say that you have someone who's trans and they come into this to have an escape because they're having body dysmorphia or what have you, and they make a character that looks like this because they cannot have this body right now, or they might not ever have this body. And to escape from their dysmorphia, they're like, you know what, at least in this game, I can be who I truly want to be. And then you give them this, like, well, this is what you really look like. Like, I mean, can you see how by trying so hard to bend over backwards to appease certain people that you actually could end up offending them? Like, what even is this? She looks like a dude. And if people are coming in here and they don't want to look like a dude, maybe they have body dysmorphia, maybe they don't, maybe they just want a character. And these are already established characters. Why change what you already had available in customization? This looks like, I mean, decent, like IMVU type of color palette. And then you just remove the life from it.
Strike the life from her.
Almost as though this is the first sketch. Like someone sketches something. You know, like when people give you a commission and they're like, hey, could you do a sketch for me? And you give them a sketch of general idea. Even this, they wouldn't do this because they'd be like, no, I don't want that. Can you bring it in a little bit here? Is the person experiencing bloating? Do they now have cholera? Why do they now look like a matte texture? Why do they look like a polygonal render of what is supposed to be more a realistic 3D figure? It just looks very odd. Those nice hips, they're gone. You should have the customization to build someone with no hips. But why already take the characters that looked a certain way and change them? Okay, this is just one example. Even other artists are talking about it. Wow, that's no joke. Okay, here's another one. I guess this was the original avatar. So they all make them look like lasagna. Here's some more examples from real Twitter users. I'm Leela says, what is this? I look like a sunken zombie that hasn't seen the sun my whole life. This is so embarrassing for you. Fix this garment. Like, yeah, you have a cute little butt. Now you're given a man ass, and you're given a man proportions. Are they doing this with the male avatars? I've yet to see the male avatars. Every time there are big changes in games, it always affects the women. It's like they're always trying to body shame us for having what we have. Like, no. Your breasts and your hips offend me, so let's get rid of those. Let's get rid of you. Like, how do people not see this as misogynistic? I know people throw that word around a lot, and I hate when they do it, but the word misogynistic actually means strongly prejudiced against women. From the root word misogyny, dislike or contempt or disrespect for or ingrained prejudice against women. If you are constantly changing women's bodies, even women's bodies that look completely normal in video games, or aspects of women's bodies, whether they are accented or not, and then you change it to completely remove them or make them look more masculine, that is actually misogyny. Here's the other interesting part, right? You're taking darker toned people and making them even whiter. You're taking darker skinned people and making their skin look like paste. You're doing everything in your power, it seems, to be as offensive to everyone. I mean, good job for being blanketed in your efforts, but I don't feel like if they're making the females' bodies look like this to look like dude bodies, and I'm not saying that every female there's some female that actually have this body type, but even those females, you can tell, like, okay, that's, unless they're like really buffed out and they're in wrestling and sports, most of them are going to have very accented features. Even if you're super, super thin, you're going to have hip indents, or you're going to have boobs. There's going to be a frame or a structure to your skeletal framework so that people can usually tell. Like, they can usually tell. And if they're making it obvious whether you look like that in real life or not, in the game, that that's what they want to look like, why would you then change it to look drastically different? Like I said, there are people who wish that they could look like this. Maybe they have body dysmorphia and they come in here and they're like, it's a game. I can't afford to get a surgery to have boobs, or my butt will never be as perky and cute as someone who doesn't have an ass. If I go in a video game and I want to give my character a little more ass, and then I come back and sign in and, I would be like, excuse me, what are you trying to say? Like, if they take away my ass, I'm like, okay, so now I can't have an ass in the real world. Now I can't have an ass in a video game either? Like, I can't live?
You won't let me live.
Here's another one. Someone said, I didn't think it would be so bad. She looks sick. Someone send help, not my avatar. Yeah, they made them look pasty. Like, I don't know if they're cutting corners or outsourced their dev team. What is going on? Here's another one. So you can see the curves and the structure of this female avatar. And then she looks like a hot dog in the update. Were their hands always that big? Jesus. Anyway, they look like skinwalkers. I think even skinwalkers would do a better job at looking more identical to their copies, you know? Add the customizations. That's fine, but then don't remove what people already have with what they've already customized. I think that would make me so upset if I was still playing that. Here's another one where you can see it very clearly disgusting. If you want context on how terrible this change was, look at this update Pokemon Go did to the avatars in the game. I hate to be like, look, it looks like AI art, but this is pretty horrendous. No. I have to correct you there. Because you see, I'm going to go generate. Hold on. I'm going to do this in like 5 minutes and generate some AI art for you. I love using AI art. I think it's beautiful. AI art does a way better job than this. This is how AI art started out. This is what AI art looks like now. This is AI art. This is AI art. Don't come for AI art. AI art does a way better job. Look at that. AI art. Just saying. And then you wonder why more people want to use AI art. Let's see if I can remake this character to make it look better. I'm going to bring this into AI art and make this look better. So this is what I brought in. This is an example of the body type just based off of the art style of Pokemon Go in the AI generator. Add a little bit more customization by blending the pictures, the original Pokemon Go pictures. Of course, everything is not perfect in AI, but already these are way more artistic. And these are just concepts. Now let's look at what they could have done with all the money they got. They could have given people more clean and smooth avatars. There are other games on mobile that have the capability to do this. I mean, it's not out of the realms. And again, these are AI. This is too. Again, not perfect. But if you can ask a computer to build you something, this is the closest I could get with my prompts to what one of the original Twitter's avatars were. And so again, you know what I mean? Did you pay someone? Did you pay someone to do this? I mean, it wasn't much to look at before, but okay, for the UI and everything, I get it. But then you go backwards when you should be going forwards? I would have been more excited. I bet everyone would have loved Pokemon Go if the avatars came out looking like the AI generation that I just made. If you want to know what my prompt was for this, by the way, I put in 3D rendered cute Pokemon Go female avatar with pink hair, white crop top, black sweatpants, and white cap. And I'm pretty sure if I asked it, hey, take the original thing that I had, like I gave it the original stuff with the blending mode in the image generator. I said, blend me this image. That's what gave me these. It took my original thing and just added to it. It didn't make it look worse. It actually made it look better. So you can't really blame people now when they're like, you know what? I'm not even going to use actual artists, because if actual artists if this is how they're representing themselves, don't let me hear you be the same ones screaming about how AI is taking your jobs when that's the kind of job that you do. And this is coming from an artist. Like, I'm an artist and I understand if this is kind of what you're putting out, why people would be like, damn. Now, I'm not going to say it's the artist or the developer's fault, like the people who came up with the concept art, because it might not have looked like this. It might be an executive decision and they're like, no, go back and change it. We just don't want anybody having any issues because people don't like hips and things that are genuinely descriptive of women. That sort of stuff offends people and we don't want to offend everyone, so just make everyone look like a man because women are offensive. That's what it's giving, and you can't blame people that are upset. And it's so funny because that's why I said the vocal minority of people who are upset about everything, who will always shift the goalposts on what they're offended by, should not have a say in what the majority of the population likes or what are willing to spend their money on. It's just ridiculous. Like, who even if you don't count the body, let's be fair and not even count the body, just looking at the change of the face, how do you go from this to that? This is why you shouldn't bend over backwards when people are like, this offends us. Because it will never stop. It never stops until you get to the other end of the spectrum where you now offend everyone. Even the initial people who were offended in the first place. So just don't change anything. Like, that's one thing they taught us, loving yourself as a person. If you, guy or girl, if someone is always asking you to change something about yourself and you yourself don't see that in yourself to change it, but someone is always being like, I don't like you wearing your hair like that. Okay, you change it. Yeah, I don't like you dressing this way. All right, fair enough. You change it. I don't like your eye color. colors. Can you change your contact? Can you wear contacts more? I don't like your hair color. Could you wear this color? Until they start crafting. And every time you give them an inch, they take a mile, until eventually you become so different that they're not even attracted to you anymore, because what they found attractive in the first place and drew them to you, you've completely now erased that. So that doesn't work IRL. It doesn't work in business either. I'm not saying changes aren't allowed, but for crying out loud, do what's been working for you and add to it. Don't subtract. And that's something I couldn't stand about the Pokemon games either. I loved Pokemon, but whenever they had a really good thing that, they would try different gimmicks and stuff, and they found something that actually stuck, they got rid of it and then went backwards and then reintroduced it and then went backwards again. And people were like, dude, this is something that we liked. Why would you remove this? And the only reason I believe that Pokemon even came out with stuff like Arceus and, they're looking into broadening their horizons is because they were lacking so much that their fan base went out there and tried to make games for the public. Now, initially, these people were not charging for these games. I can understand, yes, it's their IP. You can't be commercially putting this out there and taking their money using their IP. I get that. But people have come out making fan-made games, and when they became super popular and someone said, I'm going to make a game which looked very much like Arceus, Pokemon gave them a cease and desist right as they were finished the game, and it never came out. And then they come out with Arceus that looks almost identical to the game that they shut down. And because they realized that people were really liking it, they were like, okay, this is getting too much traction, so we're going to cease and desist you because we don't like that. This Arceus game, I can't even be properly impressed by it because it wasn't originally Pokemon's idea. They didn't have this free roam, even the art texture. Somebody else, a fan made this years ago. A fan made this game years ago. They kind of polished it a bit, obviously. But they don't even have all of it, because then they said the game footage is not final in this. But in that one, you got to see the Pokemons actually fight. You see them fight real time by giving them their moves or their instructions and then watching them do it real time instead of that turn-based waiting thing. It was free roam. It was beautiful. And then they're years after, then they come out with this after they shut down that guy's project. I found that interesting. And then lo and behold, then we get Pal World. And Pal World is all those things. I think Pal World's also a mocking of Pokemon as well. And people got upset, but guess what? It got as popular as it did. And even though people fell off, because the reason they did is because it was still early access and they didn't finish out the story. They have more things to add. So you can only play up to a point, which is why people fell off, because they played through that game. Everyone ate it up like cocaine-filled cookies. And now we're just waiting on the updates. I don't remember spending that much time on a game every single day where I'm willing to forego doing everything else just to play that game until Pal World. And it's been a while since I've had a game like that. And it's still, even in its early access, being a third of the price that Pokemon games are, it felt more finished than finished Pokemon games nowadays. I don't know if Game Freak or Nintendo realizes what they're doing, but you're not really in a great standing with the fan base. Arceus is a step in the right direction, but there are a lot of people, if you can see your competition, there are a lot of people who want more. And instead of giving them more, you are taking away, you're going in the other direction. I just don't understand why companies do this. It doesn't even make any sense. It's not even a DEI thing at this point. It's just, in totality, utter madness. Because bruh. And then people might think it's just an avatar. Who cares? It's not just the avatar. It's what it symbolizes. It's a greater conversation that's being had around gaming and media. And this might just be a fluke. This might be something that they just fumbled really heavily and they were lazy and they're like, you know what? Let's just do an update and make things different and make them look worse, because I can't even reason it. But they're just like, let's just give them something. And then, I don't know. It almost feels like everything got bugged out and reset to its sleeper build or what have you. You know how everything looks before you put the finishing touches on it? It looks like those were removed. So it might not even be egregious, but coming from a company like Nintendo and a titular franchise like Pokemon, you would expect them to have more quality. They used to. And now they're giving you poo paste. You know, when you eat the food, it looks like this on your plate, and then when it comes out the back end, it looks like this. That's not supposed to be the end result. It's supposed to look like that. Or better. How many years has it been since Pokemon Go's been out now? Anyway, there are people who still don't know what Pal World is. Go play that. Even hardcore Pokemon fans, like people who are fans of the games like I went into that and like, geez, I had to get everything. Had to eat it all up. This is ridiculous how good it is. A lot of fans of Pokemon are even saying, yeah, with what Pal World has done, this is how you respond. Are you trying to, like, you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of a dude or a woman who's in a relationship with someone. I like using analogies, forgive me. But you're in a relationship with someone and there's this really hot person that's always hanging around your significant other and they have the latest fashion. I mean, they can style themselves really well. They're toned and muscular. They got a six-pack. And you're like, damn, that's who my partner works with? Oh no, that's not good. They spend more time over there. They're looking over. But they still love me though. They're still here. They haven't left. So you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna make myself just as deplorable as possible to make that person look as good and sexy as possible. I'm going to not take a shower. I'm going to not wear deodorant. I'm going to let myself go completely. I'm going to basically tell them F you every time they come home and sexually frustrate them so that when they're around that person for 12 hours a day or what have you, they're not going to want to come home to me. They're going to want to stay with that beautiful Greek god toned person with their six-pack and beach tan. And that's kind of that's what Pokemon's doing. It's so weird. It is so bizarre to me. It's like, I don't look good. Man, something's missing. I'm losing the love of my life. Let me expedite that. I know some people might think it's like a very, very trivial situation, but to the rest of us, that when we escape in gaming, that's everything for us. Like that, in that moment, that's the world in which we escape. And then you mess with that. You can understand why people are annoyed. They're gonna be like, okay, now I can't even escape here because what have you done? It's not like you even added new stuff. You just took something that was my character that I like looking at. You just made it look like a freaking skinwalker, a sick skinwalker with Lyme disease. I just don't understand. Anyway, just like the Sonic situation, I'm pretty sure they'll fix it. No, they won't. Nintendo doesn't do that, does it?
I live inside my own world of make-believe. Kids screaming in their cradles, profanities. Some days I feel